late-night encounter turned into moments of connection that changed everything. The rain-slick streets of Manhattan gleamed under the sodium glow of street lamps, a relentless drizzle turning the city into a blurred watercolor of neon and shadow. It was past midnight on a Thursday in late autumn, the kind of hour when the world felt too heavy, too empty. Elena Vargas slammed the door of the subway car behind her, the metallic clang echoing like a final punctuation on another 14-hour day. At 32, she was the youngest partner at her firm, a title that tasted like ash these days. Victories in boardrooms that left her hollow, relationships that fizzled like wet matches. Her heels clicked sharply against the wet pavement of West Village, each step a reminder of the ache in her feet, the knot in her chest. She smelled the faint rot of fallen leaves mixed with the sharp tang of exhaust, and her breath came out in a ragged sigh, fogging the chill air. She needed a drink. Not the polished scotch at some rooftop lounge, but something raw, unfiltered. The corner bar, O'Malley's, flickered into view like a reluctant beacon, its faded green awning sagging under the rain, the door propped open to let out the warm haze of laughter and cigarette smoke. Elena pushed inside, shaking water from her wool coat, her dark hair clinging to her neck in damp waves. The place was a dive, all scarred wood and mismatched stools, the jukebox crooning some old Springsteen track about thunder roads and broken promises. She slid onto a bar stool, the leather creaking under her, and ordered a whiskey neat, her voice clipped, professional even here. That's when she saw her. Across the dim room, leaning against the far wall with a pool cue in hand, was a woman who looked like she'd stepped out of a fever dream. Mia Harlow, though Elena didn't know her name yet, was 28, an artist whose days blurred into nights at her tiny Brooklyn studio, fingers perpetually stained with acrylics and charcoal. She wore ripped jeans tucked into scuffed boots, a faded band tee under a leather jacket that hung loose on her athletic frame, auburn hair tied back in a messy ponytail that let stray curls escape like wild thoughts. Her laugh cut through the bar's murmur, a bright, unapologetic sound, as she sank a shot, chalking her cue with a grin that lit her freckled face. Elena's gaze lingered too long. Mia felt it, turned, and their eyes locked across the haze of smoke and low light. There was no polite glance away. Instead, Mia's green eyes held, curious, a slow smile tugging at her lips as if she'd just spotted a secret in the room. She abandoned her game, weaving through the sparse crowd with the easy grace of someone who owned every space she entered. Up close, Elena caught the scent of her, patchouli and fresh paint, undercut by the faint sweetness of rain on skin. "Mind if I join the loneliest stool in the house?" Mia asked, her voice-warm Brooklyn accent wrapping around the words like a hug. She didn't wait for an answer, sliding onto the stool next to Elena, signaling the bartender for 2 more whiskeys. Elena blinked, caught off guard. "It's not lonely if you're ignoring it properly." Her tone was dry, a defense mechanism honed in depositions, but her pulse betrayed her, quickening under the collar of her silk blouse. Mia chuckled, low and genuine, the sound vibrating through the air between them like a plucked string. "Fair. I'm Mia. And you look like you could use a co-conspirator for bad decisions tonight." "Elena." She extended a hand, manicured nails against callous fingertips. The touch lingered a beat too long, electric in its simplicity. They clinked glasses, the amber liquid burning smooth down Elena's throat, loosening the vice around her ribs. Conversation flowed like the rain outside, easy at first, about the bar's terrible playlist, the way the city never slept but always dreamed in fragments. But then Mia leaned in, elbows on the bar, her knee brushing Elena's under the shadow of the counter. "So what's chasing you in here at this hour? The kind of day that makes you question if coffee's just liquid regret." Elena hesitated, the whiskey warming her from the inside out. No one asked her that, not really. Her exes had been surface level, men who'd complimented her ambition like it was an accessory. But Mia's eyes were steady, seeing past the armor. A merger gone south. Client screaming in my ear all afternoon. And, yeah, the regret part hits home. She let out a soft exhale, almost a laugh, but it cracked at the edges. The bar's hum faded, leaving just the patter of rain on the window, the faint clink of ice in their glasses. Mia's hand grazed Elena's arm, light as a breath. Sounds like the universe's way of saying slow down. Or maybe screw it all and dance in the storm. Her fingers traced a lazy circle on the bar top, Close enough that Elena felt the heat. Vulnerability flickered in Mia's gaze then. A shadow crossing her features. The weight of her own late nights. Canvases abandoned half-finished. The sting of a family back in Queens who loved her but didn't understand her, not fully. They talked deeper as the bar emptied. The whiskey refills turning stories into confessions. Elena spoke of the pressure, the invisible clock ticking on her biological one. The loneliness of climbing ladders built for someone else. Mia shared sketches from her phone. Raw, emotional pieces of lovers tangled in city lights, women with eyes like storms. Their laughter mingled with sighs, the air thick with the scent of spilled beer and possibility. When Mia's boot nudged Elena's calf again, deliberate this time, Elena didn't pull away. Instead, she felt a pull, magnetic, toward this stranger who saw her fractures and didn't flinch. By last call, the rain had eased to a mist, the streets glistening like they'd been polished for them alone. "Walk with me?" Mia asked, standing, offering her jacket against the chill. Elena nodded, heart thudding like bass from the jukebox. They stepped out into the night, shoulders brushing, the city's pulse syncing with theirs. A block down, under the awning of a shuttered bookstore, Mia stopped, turning to face her. The street lamp cast golden halos in her hair, and Elena's breath caught, the way Mia's lips parted, soft, expectant. Their first kiss was tentative, rain-kissed and tasting of whiskey and want. Mia's hands framed Elena's face, thumbs brushing away droplets from her cheeks, and Elena melted into it, fingers curling into the leather of Mia's jacket. It deepened, urgent, a release of everything unspoken. The hook of isolation yanking them together, the conflict of lives too full to risk this fragile spark. When they broke apart, foreheads pressed, Mia whispered, This changes the air, doesn't it?" Elena nodded, voice husky. "Yeah, it does." But even then, doubt whispered at the edges. Elena's world of contracts and clocks, Mia's of chaos and color. How could one night rewrite the script? They didn't know yet that it would unravel them both, thread by aching thread. As they parted at the subway stairs, exchanging numbers with trembling fingers, the city hummed on, oblivious. Elena rode home in a daze, the taste of Mia lingering like a promise. Sleep came fitful, dreams laced with green eyes and the echo of laughter. Morning light filtered through her blinds, but the real dawn was just beginning. Sunrise painted the skyline in pinks and golds, but Elena's alarm shattered the illusion at 6 sharp, dragging her back to the grind. She lay there for a moment, sheets tangled around her legs, replaying the night in fragments. The press of Mia's body against the brick wall during that second kiss, hungrier. Hands exploring the curve of hips under damp fabric. A shiver ran through her, not from cold, but from the rawness of it all. At 32, Elena had kissed women before, in college experiments dismissed as phases, but nothing like this. Mia wasn't an experiment. She was a revelation, stirring something dormant, fierce. She showered quickly, the steam carrying the ghost of patchouli, and dressed in her armor. Tailored black pantsuit, crisp white blouse, hair pulled into a severe bun. The mirror reflected a woman composed, but her reflection's eyes betrayed her, bright, alive in a way they hadn't been in years. Her phone buzzed on the counter. A text from Mia. "Coffee. My studio. Noon. Bring your sketchbook, soul." Elena smiled, fingers hovering before typing back. "Only if you promise no mergers involved." The morning blurred in conference calls and emails, the firm's glass walls trapping her in fluorescent limbo. But her mind wandered to Mia's laugh, the way her freckles danced when she smiled, the small scar on her thumb from a wayward palette knife. By 11, Elena was slipping out, claiming a lunch meeting, her heels echoing down the hall like a getaway. Mia's studio was in a converted warehouse in Bushwick, the air thick with turpentine and possibility. Elena knocked, heart in her throat, and the door swung open to Mia in paint-splattered overalls, hair wild, a streak of cobalt blue across her cheek. "You came," Mia said, breathless, pulling her inside with a grin that crinkled her eyes. The space was chaos incarnate. Canvases leaned against brick walls, half-formed figures in oils and inks, a battered couch piled with sketch pads. Sunlight streamed through grimy windows, motes dancing like fireflies. Mia handed her a chipped mug of black coffee, their fingers brushing, deliberate, sparking. "No cream, no sugar. Like your edges, I bet." Elena sipped, the bitterness grounding her. Sharp observation. But last night, you saw through them. She set the mug down, stepping closer, the scent of canvas and Mia enveloping her. They stood inches apart, the air humming with unspoken questions. Mia reached out, tracing the line of Elena's jaw with paint-dusted fingers, leaving a faint blue smudge. I see colors in people. Yours? Deep crimson edged in gold, like a sunset fighting the dark. Her voice dropped, intimate, and Elena's breath hitched, a soft gasp escaping as Mia's thumb grazed her lower lip. They kissed again, slower this time, exploratory. Mia's hand slid under Elena's jacket, palms warm against the silk of her shirt, eliciting a low moan from deep in Elena's throat. The world narrowed to sensations. The rough weave of overalls against smooth skin, the faint creak of floorboards under shifting weight, the distant rumble of a freight train like a heartbeat. Elena's fingers tangled in Mia's hair, pulling her closer, tasting coffee and creativity on her tongue. They tumbled onto the couch, a tangle of limbs and laughter, Mia's knee pressing between Elena's thighs in a way that sent heat pooling low. Tell me what you want, Mia murmured against her neck, teeth grazing the pulse point, drawing a shuddering sigh. Elena arched, whispering, You, just, this. Clothes shed in hurried whispers, jacket discarded, buttons undone with trembling hands, revealing skin flushed and freckled, curves that fit like missing pieces. It was tender then fierce. Mia's mouth mapping Elena's collarbone, eliciting gasps that echoed off the walls. Elena's nails raking down Mia's back, leaving red trails like brushstrokes. The climax built like a storm, waves crashing in shared breaths and whispered names, bodies slick with sweat and the remnants of last night's rain. Afterward they lay entwined, Mia's head on Elena's chest, listening to the steady thrum beneath her ear. The light shifted, afternoon gold turning amber, and Elena felt a peace she'd forgotten, raw, uncontracted. But connection bred questions. Over takeout Thai later, sprawled on the floor amid scattered charcoals, Mia opened up. My folks. They think art's a hobby, not a life. Dad's a cop, mom's a teacher, solid Queen's stock. Coming out was like dropping a bomb in the family barbecue. They love me, but it's this quiet fracture. Her voice cracked, fork pausing midair, the steam from Pad CW curling like smoke signals. Elena squeezed her hand, the vulnerability mirroring her own. My family's from Miami, Cuban roots, all fire and tradition. Mom wants grandkids yesterday, Dad just nods along. The firms know better. Rainbow flags in June but whisper about dating a woman. Career suicide. She exhaled slowly, the admission heavy, like exhaling smoke after years of holding it in. The conflict loomed now, not just internal but external. Their worlds colliding like thunderheads. Yet in that moment, forks clinking against plates, laughter bubbling over shared stories of disastrous first dates, it felt surmountable. Mia sketched Elena then, quick lines on a napkin. Sharp jaw, soft eyes, a woman caught between storm and serenity. For the girl who thinks she's all edges, Mia said, sliding it over with a wink. Elena pocketed it like a talisman, but as she left for the evening train, the city's dusk wrapping around her like doubt, she wondered, could moments like this rewrite fates built on fault lines? Her phone lit up. Mia. Come back soon. We're just getting started. Elena's reply was swift. Count on it. But the hook of the night before had set deeper, pulling them toward uncharted depths. That night, alone in her high-rise apartment overlooking the Hudson, Elena uncorked wine. The corks popped like a sigh of relief. She scrolled Mia's Instagram, vibrant street art, women in bold poses, captions laced with quiet defiance. It stirred something protective, fierce. Sleep came easier, dreams of blue-streaked cheeks and whispered promises. But morning brought reality. A text from her boss about a high-stakes case, the merger's ghost rising again. Elena dressed for battle, the napkin sketch tucked in her briefcase like armor. The connection was real, but the world? It had teeth. Weeks blurred into a rhythm neither had planned, stolen hours weaving their lives like threads in Mia's tapestries. Mornings, Elena conquered courtrooms, her voice steel in arguments that left opponents reeling, but afternoons bled into evenings at the studio, where she'd shed the suit for Mia's oversized tees, paint flecking her skin like freckles borrowed. The air there hummed with creation, brushes swishing against canvas, the soft hiss of spray paint, Mia's hum of half-remembered indie tunes. Elena learned the feel of charcoal under her nails, sketching Mia's profile in the slanting light, capturing the curve of her neck, the way her lashes cast shadows like secrets. Their intimacy deepened, bodies mapping each other with reverent touches. One rainy Tuesday, after a brutal deposition that left Elena's throat raw, she arrived at the studio soaked, defeated. Mia didn't ask. She just pulled her into the loft's tiny bathroom, running a bath in the clawfoot tub, steam rising like incense. "Undress," Mia commanded softly, voice laced with care, and Elena obeyed, shedding layers until she stood bare, vulnerable under the gaze that held no judgment, only hunger. The water enveloped her, hot and forgiving, Mia's hands soaping her shoulders, thumbs kneading knots with murmured endearments. "You're a force, you know that? Unbreakable." Elena leaned back against Mia's chest, the water lapping at their joined skin, and let tears mix with the bath, silent at first, then spilling in choked sobs. "I feel like I'm drowning sometimes," she confessed, voice muffled against Mia's collarbone, the scent of lavender soap mingling with salt. Mia's arms tightened, lips pressing to her temple. "Then I'll be your air." They made love there, water sloshing over the edges, slow and healing, fingers tracing scars both seen and unseen, mouths coaxing gasps that turned to pleas. Elena's climax shattered her open, a cry echoing off tiles, Mia following with a shuddering breath, their foreheads pressed in the cooling water. Afterward, wrapped in towels on the fire escape, city lights twinkling below like fallen stars, they shared silences heavy with emotion. Mia's fingers interlaced with Elena's, rings of commitment unspoken. "This is real, isn't it?" Elena whispered, the vulnerability raw, her free hand tracing Mia's knuckles. "Real as the rain," Mia replied, but her eyes held a flicker, fear perhaps of the pullback she sensed in Elena's hesitations. The conflict simmered beneath the bliss. Elena's firm noticed her distractions. Late arrivals, minds elsewhere during strategy sessions. A colleague, Mark, charming, persistent, cornered her in the break room one crisp November morning, coffee steaming between them. "You seem lighter lately." "Good lighter. Who's the lucky guy?" His grin was easy, assuming, and Elena's stomach twisted, the hook of secrecy yanking tight. "No one you'd know," she evaded, but the lie burned, the air thick with the scent of burnt toast from the machine. That night, over dinner at a dimly lit Italian spot in the village, candlelight flickering on Chianti glasses, she told Mia, voice tight. "It's like walking a tightrope. One slip and—" Mia reached across the checkered tablecloth, squeezing her hand, the violinist's melody swelling like their unspoken fears. "And what? They fire the best closer they have? Fuck that. You're more than their pawn." But her bravado cracked later in bed, as Elena traced the tattoos on her ribs, a phoenix rising from thorns, inked after her coming out fallout. "My sister's wedding's next month," Mia admitted, sheets whispering against skin. "Family expects me to show. Alone. Like always." Elena's heart ached, fingers stilling. "Go as you. We'll figure the rest." But doubt crept in, cold as the winter wind rattling the windows. Their nights turned electric with urgency. Sex that bordered on desperate, bodies slamming together in the dark, breaths ragged, nails digging crescents into flesh. One such evening, after a gallery opening where Mia's pieces hung bold and queer-coded, admirers murmuring praise, they stumbled back to Elena's apartment, high on validation and red wine. The doorman's nod was perfunctory, the elevator's hum a prelude. Inside, Elena pinned Mia against the door, kissing her with a ferocity that bruised lips, hands yanking at zippers. "God, you were brilliant tonight," Elena growled, voice husky, shedding her coat like a skin. Mia's response was a moan, legs wrapping around Elena's waist as they staggered to the bedroom, lamps casting long shadows like lovers' silhouettes. They fell onto silk sheets, Mia on top, grinding slow at first, eliciting whimpers that built to cries, the headboard thumping rhythmically, the city's distant horns a symphony to their abandon. "I need you," Mia gasped, fingers threading through Elena's hair, pulling taut, and Elena bucked up, meeting her thrust for thrust, the friction igniting sparks that exploded in white-hot release. They collapsed, sweat-slicked, Mia's tears wetting Elena's shoulder. Not sorrow but overwhelm. "Don't let go," she whispered, the plea hanging like smoke. "I won't," Elena promised, but sleep brought dreams of boardrooms turning hostile, family dinners souring, the merger of their worlds fracturing under scrutiny. Morning coffee tasted bitter, the skyline mocking with its unyielding lines. Yet hope flickered. Mia's exhibit sold 3 pieces that week. One to a collector who gushed about its emotional authenticity. Elena framed the check stub on her fridge, a talisman against the storm. As December loomed, invitations piled up. Elena's firm holiday gala, black tie and schmoozing. Mia's sister's wedding, lace and toasts. The main conflict crystallized, hide or claim. Over hot cocoa in a corner cafe, snow dusting the windows like powdered sugar. Elena broached it. "What if we went together?" To both. Mia's eyes widened, spoon clinking against porcelain. Bold. Terrifying. But, yeah. Their kiss there, sweet with marshmallows, sealed it. A pact amid the jingle of bells outside. But as they parted for work, Elena's phone buzzed. Her mother, voice warm over the line. "Mija, when are you bringing someone home? It's been too long." The warmth curdled, the hook pulling harder. Connection was changing everything, but at what cost? The holiday lights strung across Fifth Avenue twinkled like conspiracies, but the firm's gala felt like a battlefield dressed in tinsel. Elena stood in her apartment mirror, adjusting the emerald gown that hugged her curves, the fabric whispering against her skin like Mia's breath. At 32 she looked every inch the power player, hair in loose waves, diamond studs glinting, but inside nerves churned like the eggnog she'd skipped. This was their first public step. Mia as her +1, no qualifiers. The limo arrived at 7, Mia stepping out in a tailored black tuxedo that accentuated her lithe frame, bow tie slightly askew, a rebellious streak of silver eyeliner. "You clean up dangerous," Elena teased, but her voice caught, hand trembling as she took Mia's. Their fingers laced, a silent vow amid the honking traffic. Inside the plaza's grand ballroom, crystal chandeliers dripped light like frozen rain. The air heavy with perfume and ambition. Colleagues swarmed, handshakes crisp, compliments laced with probes. "Elena, darling, who's this vision?" Her boss, Harlan, boomed, martini in hand, eyes appraising Mia like a potential client. "Mia Harlow, artist extraordinaire," Elena said, chin lifted, her arm slipping possessively around Mia's waist. The warmth of Mia's body grounded her, the faint scent of her cologne, sandalwood and spice, cutting through the floral assault. Mia charmed effortlessly, her laugh drawing smiles, tales of her latest mural project weaving magic into small talk. But tension coiled as the night wore on. Mark sidled up during the auction, champagne flute raised. "Didn't peg you for the artsy type, Elena. Or, is this more?" His gaze flicked between them, brow arched, the implication hanging like cigar smoke from the lounge. Mia's hand tightened on Elena's, nails pressing crescents, but her smile didn't waver. More like the kind that sticks. Elena's pulse raced, the orchestra's swell masking her sharp inhale. They danced then, escaping to the floor. Waltzing amid glittering gowns, Mia's hand firm on Elena's lower back, guiding her through the swirl. "You're shaking," Mia murmured, breath hot against her ear, the violin strings vibrating like their synced heartbeats. "Scared they'll see me," Elena admitted, voice athread, cheek pressed to Mia's shoulder. The fabric of the tux was smooth under her palm, the sway hypnotic. "The real me. They already do. And she's fucking radiant." Mia's words landed like a lifeline, pulling Elena closer, their bodies flush in the crowd's anonymity. The song ended too soon, applause rippling, but the moment lingered. A stolen kiss in the alcove, urgent and affirming, lips tasting of champagne and courage. Back at the table, whispers started. Harlan's wife leaned in, voice syrupy. "Such a lovely pair. How long?" Elena froze, fork midway to her mouth, the salmon's flaky texture turning to ash. Mia jumped in casual. "Long enough to know it's the real deal." But Elena saw the strain in her eyes, the way her foot tapped under the tablecloth, a Morse code of unease. They left early, the limo ride a decompression. Hands entwined, city lights streaking past like shooting stars. You were brave, Mia said, head on Elena's lap, fingers tracing patterns on her thigh. Elena's response was a kiss to her forehead, soft, but laced with the night's residue. Home brought release. Gowns pooling on the floor, bodies colliding in the hallway, a frenzy of need. Mia's tux rumpled, Elena's gown hiked. They braced against the wall, gasps punctuating thrusts, the mirror reflecting their abandon. Sweat glistened skin, eyes locked in feral intensity. Mine, Elena growled, hand fisting auburn hair, and Mia's cry shattered the quiet, climax ripping through them like thunder. Panting in the afterglow, tangled on the rug, reality intruded. Mia's phone lit up, her sister voice message crackling. Mia, wedding's in 2 weeks. Mom's asking about dates. You bringing anyone? Or still? You know. The pause stretched, hurtful, and Mia's face crumpled, a tear tracing down her cheek. Elena pulled her close, the carpets weave rough against her back. We'll go. Together. Show them. But doubt festered. Mia's family, traditional Irish Catholic, had tolerated her queerness like a polite fiction. The wedding loomed like a gauntlet. The weeks spiraled. Elena buried in briefs, the merger resurrecting in arbitration threats. Mia in deadline hell, a commission for a queer pride mural straining her sleep. Their connection frayed at edges, snap texts, missed calls. One snow-dusted Friday, Elena arrived at the studio unannounced, takeout bags swinging, but found Mia slumped over a canvas, eyes red-rimmed. Can't get the faces right, Mia muttered, charcoal snapping in her grip. The room smelled of stale coffee and frustration, half-eaten ramen congealing on the sill. Elena knelt, taking the sketchpad, distorted figures, lovers blurred in anguish. It's us, isn't it? The fear. Mia nodded, voice breaking. What if they break us? My family. They chipped away before. Yours too. The admission hung, heavy as the snow piling outside. Elena cupped her face, thumbs wiping tears, their foreheads touching in shared breath. Then we rebuild. Stronger. They made love on the studio floor, slow and reclaiming. Bodies rocking in sync, whispers of affirmation amid moans, the canvas beneath them smudging with their movement. Climax came gentle, a wave cresting in size, leaving them spent, entwined. But the conflict peaked that night. Elena's mother called, voice sharp over the line. A woman? Elena, think of the family. The firm. The words sliced, Elena's grip whitening on the phone, Mia's hand on her knee the only anchor. Hanging up, Elena paced, the apartment's hardwood cold underfoot. She's right. It's suicide. Mia stood, pulling her into an embrace, hearts hammering. Or it's life. Our life. The hook of the night they'd met yanked now. Testing the line, connection versus convention, love against legacy. As midnight told, snow muffling the world they chose. We fight, Elena said, voice steel once more. Mia's kiss sealed it, fierce. But the wedding was tomorrow, and the storm was just breaking. The drive to Queens felt like crossing state lines into another era. Suburban streets lined with twinkling wreaths, the air crisp with pine from roadside lots. Elena gripped the wheel of her rental sedan, knuckles pale, Mia beside her in a simple green dress that brought out her eyes, hair loose and curling from the humidity. The radio murmured carols, but the cheer grated, amplifying the knot in Elena's gut. At 32 she'd faced hostile juries, but this? Family scrutiny veiled in lace and liturgy. Mia fiddled with her necklace. A silver chain with a tiny paintbrush pendant Elena had gifted her last week, fingers twisting it like a rosary. They'll love you, she said, but her voice wavered, the lie thin. Her sister's wedding was at St. Mary's, a stone church steeple piercing the gray sky, parking lot filling with relatives in wool coats and pressed suits. They arrived fashionably late, hands clasped tight as they navigated the vestibule. Incense thick, murmurs rippling like waves. Mia's mother spotted them first, her face a mask of warmth cracking at the edges. Mia, dear and friend? The pause was a scalpel, eyes flicking to their joined hands. Elena, Mia supplied, chin up, squeeze reassuring. My partner. The word landed like a stone in still water, ripples spreading. Hugs were exchanged, Stiff for Elena, perfunctory, but Mia's dad clapped her shoulder, gruff. Heard you're a lawyer. Tough gig. Small mercies. The ceremony blurred in stained glass hues. Vows exchanged with trembling voices, organs swelling like a tide. Elena sat rigid, Mia's thigh pressed to hers. A lifeline amid the "till death do us part" that echoed too personally. Tears pricked, Mia dabbing at her eyes with a tissue, whispering, "Beautiful, right?" But Elena saw the subtext. The what-ifs, the paths not taken. The reception hall was a riot of tinsel and toasts, long tables groaning under roast beef and potatoes, the band crooning "Fly Me to the Moon." They claimed a corner table, plates half-eaten, wine flowing to dull edges. Mia's aunt leaned in, breath boozy. "So how'd you two meet?" "Bar pickup." Laughter followed, jagged, and Elena's fork clattered, heat rising in her cheeks. Mia stiffened, but Elena interjected, voice even. "Late night at O'Malley's. Best bad decision ever." The table chuckled, tension easing, but Mia's sister pulled her aside later, bouquet in hand, face flushed from cake and champagne. "Mom's upset. Says it's a phase. For you both." Mia's response was a whisper, fierce. "It's not. It's us." But tears welled, spilling as she returned, collapsing into Elena's arms in the coatroom's dim alcove. "I can't breathe here," Mia sobbed, face buried in Elena's neck, the wool of her coat muffling the sound. Elena held her, rocking gently, the distant clink of glasses a cruel counterpoint. "Then we leave our mark." She led Mia to the dance floor, ignoring stares, pulling her into a slow sway amid the couples. Mia's body molded to hers, hands splayed on Elena's back, breath sinking to the ballad's croon. "You're my anchor," Mia murmured, lips brushing Elena's ear, igniting shivers down her spine. The kiss came unbidden, soft at first, then deepening, a declaration amid the swirl. Whispers erupted, heads turning, but they didn't stop, tongues tangling in defiant passion, the world's judgment fading to static. Mia's hands cupped Elena's face, thumbs stroking cheeks, a moan escaping as Elena's fingers dug into hips. They broke apart, breathless, foreheads touching, the band's applause masking their gasps. But the climax brewed outside, in the parking lot's chill. Mia's dad confronted them by the car, face shadowed under sodium lights. "This. It's not us, Mia. Think of your sister." His voice cracked, pain raw, and Mia recoiled as if struck, tears freezing on her lashes. "It's me, Dad. All of me." Elena stepped forward, arm around Mia's waist. "Sir, love isn't a phase. It's the fight worth having." He deflated, sighing long and heavy, the exhaust from idling cars mingling with his breath. "Just don't lose her to it." The door slammed on that ambiguity, the drive back silent, snow flurrying like confetti gone wrong. Home was a sanctuary. Apartment lights warm, shedding coats in a trail to the bedroom. They undressed each other with deliberate care, dresses pooling like shed skins, hands reverent on exposed flesh. "I love you," Mia said first, voice breaking as she pushed Elena onto the bed, straddling her, auburn hair cascading like a curtain. Elena's response was a gasp, arching up, "Love you more," as Mia's mouth trailed fire down her torso, tongue circling peaks that drew whimpers. It built inexorably. Mia's fingers delving, curling with precision, Elena's hips bucking, cries echoing off walls, the wet sounds of desire, the creak of mattress springs, breaths ragged and pleading. "Don't stop," Elena begged, nails raking Mia's shoulders, and the release hit like lightning, body convulsing, Mia following with a guttural moan, collapsing in a heap of limbs and aftershocks. In the quiet, tangled sheets cooling, the conflict crested. Elena's phone buzzed, Harlan voiced terse. "Heard about the gala. Discretion, Elena. Clients talk." The merger hinged on conservative backers. Rumors could tank it. Mia overheard, face paling. "Leave it. Us." But Elena paced, the carpet muffling her steps, heart tearing. "I can't. Not yet." The words wounded Mia, curling away, back a wall of hurt. "Then what are we?" The question hung unanswered as dawn crept in, gray and unforgiving. The connection that changed everything now threatened to shatter it. Love's hook barb, drawing blood. January's bite sharpened the edges of the city, icicles daggering from fire escapes, mirroring the chill in Elena's bones. The merger arbitration loomed like a guillotine, days of prep turning her into a ghost, fueled by black coffee and Mia's sporadic texts, each one a flicker in the dark. Their last fight lingered unspoken, Mia's plea for all-in clashing with Elena's fear of fallout. Nights alone, Elena traced the empty side of the bed, the scent of patchouli fading from pillows, her sighs echoing in the vaulted ceiling. Mia threw herself into work, the Pride mural exploding in vibrant strokes, women hand in hand against rainbow skies, faces fierce with the emotion she'd bottled. But solitude bred demons, voicemails from her mom, laced with prayers that felt like pleas to change. One blizzard night, holed up in the studio with a space heater's whine, she called Elena, voice small over the line. "I miss you. The us before the fractures." Elena's reply was a sob, muffled by the wind howling outside her window. "Me too. God, Mia." They talked till batteries died, confessions tumbling like snow. Elena's terror of losing her career, the cultural weight of her Cuban heritage demanding legacy. Mia's ache for acceptance, the artist's soul craving unmasked truth. "We can't half-live this," Mia said finally, the click of the call a gut punch. The climax erupted midweek. Elena in the conference room, projections flickering like bad omens. Harlan pulled her aside post-meeting, door clicking shut. "The backers are spooked, gala gossip. Pull it together or you're out." His words landed like slaps, the air stale with printer ink and defeat. Elena fled to the studio, bursting in unannounced, coat dusted white, eyes wild. Mia looked up from her ladder, roller dripping cerulean. "Elena," but Elena crossed the dropcloth in strides, pulling her down into a kiss that tasted of desperation, salt and fury, hands fisting paint-streaked shirts. "I quit," Elena gasped against her mouth, the lie no vow spilling out. "Fuck the merger. Fuck them. I choose us." Mia's eyes searched hers, paintbrush clattering to the floor. "You. What?" Elena sank to her knees, vulnerability cracking her open. "I resigned this morning. Walked out. For you. For this." Tears streamed, hot on cold cheeks, and Mia joined her, cradling her face. "You're insane. Brilliant. Mine." The release was cathartic, bodies slamming together on the tarp, colors smearing like abstract passion. Elena's mouth devouring Mia's neck, drawing moans that vibrated through them. Mia's thighs clamping, grinding with abandon, fingers plunging deep, eliciting screams that drowned the storm. Climaxes chained, wave after wave, leaving them wrecked, hues of blue and red streaking skin like war paint. "Forever," they whispered in unison, breaths mingling, the heaters glow their hearth. Spring unfurled tentative, their connection reborn in reinvention. Elena launched a boutique firm, queer-focused advocacy, cases pro bono for artists like Mia. Her first client a trans muralist fighting eviction. Mornings now meant coffee shared on the fire escape. Mia sketching Elena's profile as sunlight gilds her features, laughter light. They traveled Miami beaches where Elena's mom, after tearful calls, met Mia with cautious hugs. Queen's barbecues where Mia's dad grilled veggies with gruff jokes, the fracture mending slow. One June evening under a canopy of fireflies in Central Park, blanket spread with wine and cheese, Mia knelt. "From late night to this, will you build it all with me? Marry me." The ring was a braided band of silver and gold, etched with a tiny phoenix. Elena's yes was a sob, pulling her down into grass-scented kisses, the city's hum a blessing. Years later, their wedding, a rooftop affair blending Cuban rhythms and Irish reels, drew families whole, toasts toasting not just union but survival. Elena in a white suit vowing through mergers and murals, Mia in flowing silk, promising colors that never fade. The dance was theirs alone, at first slow, sensual, hands roaming possessively, breaths hot with memory. The encounter that started in rain had bloomed into legacy. A daughter adopted, her curls a mix of auburn and dark, a gallery co-owned, walls alive with stories. Late nights now meant lullabies, not whiskey but the spark endured, stolen touches in kitchens, sighs in sheets. Connection hadn't just changed everything. It had rewritten the stars, proving love's quiet revolution. One moment, infinite dawns. In the end, as they lay entwined under summer stars, Elena traced Mia's wedding band, whispering, "Worth every storm." Mia's smile, freckled and free, agreed. And the city, eternal witness, sighed content.